Objection sustained. Your hosts, Karen Klaus and former Bexar County District Attorney Nico LaHood.
Thank you so much for joining us. This is Sidebar. Please go to sidebartv.com to get on a social media platform to watch the show live. Yes, it is during the show that we do the show on social media, but we also continue after the show, and we absolutely love your comments, but we'd also love for you to become a contributor to the show. We appreciate every single one of you who join us every single week, and we would love for you to be a bigger part of it by contributing to help us continue it. So, I took the week off. I thank you both very much for letting me have a weekend off so that I could get my head straight.
What are you talking about?
But
Did you get married on your trip?
No, I didn't do anything.
Do, a cruise?
All I did was cry and was in the fetal position.
I don't know if I believe that story.
And I'm not kidding. Not one single drink.
I'm sure you went with a church group.
I did.
Yeah.
I did go with my Bible study group, so don't make fun of me. Okay, so what happened this week? I did have a lot of catching up to do when it came to what was going on. And the big thing that blared out to me is, wait, Marjorie Taylor Greene says she's going to resign in January. Maybe somebody can explain to me what happened. But President Trump met with the new mayor of New York City. Man, that was a bunch of smiling going on there. The Muslim Brotherhood and the Council on American Islamic Relations, they have been designated as foreign terrorist organizations. And the Democrats are calling on the military to defy illegal orders. And then the CDC is now saying vaccines may or may not cause autism. We need to break that down, and I hope that everyone will stick with us for the entire show and the after show, because if you're brand new, if you're old to the show, every week you can come here to hear the former Bexar County DA, Nico LaHood, trial lawyer, managing partner of LaHood Norton Law Group, and George Arugio, scholar, former chemist, and pharmaceutical researcher and director. And yes, it's so great to be back. Happy belated birthday to George
yesterday. Yeah, I was going to say, George finally.
Yes.
Now he can legally drink.
But he still won't.
I know.
And then also, congratulations, Nico, on your recent case. I wasn't here for the whole. Wow.
Talked about it last week. Yeah, I know you love that court stuff.
I love trials. I love yours especially. It's like better than Law and Order.
Well,
I'm not kidding.
I don't have to low bar, but thank you. I'll take it from you.
You know, I just love that stuff. But so where are we going to start today? I know that obviously the CDC. I don't know what is happening with the CD. I know that that's a topic that you always want to talk about, Nico. I mean, is this a good thing? Is it politics? Is it science? What is the big change?
Well, I mean, I firmly believe it's science. You know, science, and my definition, and I think George has given me the thumbs up on this very simple definition: the rational pursuit of truth. We've talked about double-blind placebo studies and phase 4 studies and things of that nature, which normal medicines go through, and vaccines don't go through those type of rigorous studies, and we know why, because they're put in a different category, right? What are they called? Biologics or
biologics?
Biologics, yeah. They're not called medicine; they're called biologics, and so they don't have to go through the same studies.
They're not pharmaceuticals. Yeah,
there you go, pharmaceuticals. Sorry, Mr. Technical over here, but that's true, and so the CDC has taken a position in the past that there's no link, some definitive statement, and this just not. That just hasn't been true. And so it's nice to see that they're at least saying, look, we have no position on it. I don't know what their new position, it's not so definitive. And so there could be a link. And look, people can make up their own minds. I've just always been an advocate for educating yourself. You've never heard me say, don't do this or don't do that. But this is our journey. My wife and I have been very open about it. And I want to give credit to somebody. Someone texted me yesterday. And I don't know, I didn't hear it, but I heard Trey Ware mentioning it from, the radio show.
Yes.
Trey Ware had mentioned me yesterday talking about this report, and he said, Nico had been warning us about this for years. And I don't know if I was warning people, but I was just talking about an issue that had affected our family very personally.
Yourself.
Yeah, and just encouraging people to pursue the truth, whatever it is, and then follow it wherever it leads you. And so I appreciate him saying that. Of course, I took a lot of flack when I was DA, and I made that statement, and I came out and said that this could be some link, and this was our family's journey. Our son Michael is 15 now. We're in a very difficult season with him. Puberty's tough for any kid,
sure,
but especially a child on the spectrum, and a lot of sleepless nights, a lot of meltdowns. We pick him up from school often. This week has been a challenging week, but I married up. My wife is amazing. and she loves on him the way she loves on all of us, and I'm there to support her and to lead in many, many ways. But she takes the lead with Michael and our family, and all the kids are involved in raising Michael, because that's just the way a family with a child on the spectrum operates. So look, there's real effects here. I mean, autism has gone to 1 in 32 from 1 in 10,000. We've all heard the stats over decades, and that's just, okay, ask questions. And I think Bobby is now, and people are now open to asking questions. From the COVID vaccine to this, that, and you couldn't even mention the word vaccine without having to blink it out and use different letters. I mean, it's just ridiculous. We live in a country where we have free speech, and we should be able to talk and just ask questions and push back on the quote-unquote experts and come up with our own conclusions. And that's all I've ever advocated for. And I was called a kook and this and that. I was like, okay, well, call me whatever you want, but my son deserves a voice, and he can't speak, and so I'm going to speak for him, and I'm going to ask questions, and I don't give a crap if you like it or not. And so that was it. That was my journey. So I'm happy about this. And just in this, and it's not because I told you so. It has nothing to do with that. It's because I just want people to have information so they can make I believe in informed consent. But to have informed consent, you need to be truly informed, not informed partially, and not informed by somebody that has a bias. And money's a pretty big motivator. And when you look at the money involved with this type of operation here. So I'm motivated by health and by people's purpose in life, because God gave us all a purpose. And if a child is inflicted with this condition that any medication or any medical intervention causes, then that family is not going to be the same, and that child will not have reach their potential that maybe God intended. So that's my motivation. Others can be their motivation. And so that's my 2 cents on it, George.
Well, that's 22 cents, but good stuff, because I think that's a good representation of what the CDC said, and it's something they should have said many, many years ago. And it's really a shift. It's a sensible, science-based shift. Regardless of whether or not, because there's arguing, well, it was politically motivated. And of course, there's always politics.
Sure.
I mean, hey, newsflash, unfortunately, but realistically, there's politics inside of science. Are you kidding me? Give me a break. Of course there is. So the question is, do those politics keep you from doing good, sound science? That's a whole other issue. And what they said on the webpage is good, sound science. The CDC, in essence, shifted from absolute denialism that vaccines cause or don't cause in their case, that vaccines cause autism, but to I think a sensible doubt. So it was from denial to doubt, and that's really where you should be, because that's where the science is. Actually, really, that's where the science is. There are truly no gold standard studies, and you said what they were. They are randomized, placebo-controlled, double-blind studies. Those are gold standard studies because they're most effective at eliminating biases from clinical investigations. And so there are no gold standard studies. That's the reality that I've examined the cumulative infant vaccine schedule, which is now 20 plus doses before the age of 1. There's nothing
before 1. Listen to that. That's crazy. 20 doses before. And if you look at the safe amount of thimerosal and aluminum and all the different adjuvants in these medical interventions, and what's acceptable in the body, and you add it up, and look, smarter people than me have done this. I mean, it's insane. And why are we doing this? You have to ask yourself why. And I know many people that are on the schedule with their kids, and their kids are always sick. Yeah. And so you have to, what are we doing this for? What are we trying to accomplish? Trying to accomplish healthy children, obviously, to have healthy adults. We're a sick nation. We have sick kids. I mean, we have all kinds of issues with children. I mean, kids are on medication, EpiPens. I mean, there's ADHD, and there's autism, and there's eczema, and there's tics, and there's all kinds of ailments that kids have, and they're chronic. And you have to ask why. I mean, when I was growing up, I'm 53, and George is now 21. But when I was growing up, there were no kids on the spectrum.
I know.
There just weren't. And then when people asked me back then, well, we're just recognizing it better. I was like, okay, well, I campaign in this whole county. It's a huge county. I mean, there's crevices and crooks and crannies in this county that you didn't know were there, and there's communities. There's not some secret autism community with 53-year-old dudes and women in there. There's just not. Because if it's 1 in 32 now, there should be 1 in 32 adults my age, and they're not. And so when you look at that and you look at the correlation versus causation argument, got it. But all people like me and George have advocated is investigate. Do what Bobby's doing. Ask questions. Don't be arrogant and make this a cultish movement, because it's cultish. You talk about vaccines, I mean, it's a religion. It's a cult. I mean, you freak out. And I mean, I was attacked globally when I made this statement.
I know. I remember.
Globally.
I know.
And
it
go
was
ahead.
Unbelievable.
Well,
I couldn't even believe that I was seeing what I was seeing when it came to you just stating your opinion. as a firsthand participant in a family that it experiences. But it's
and I was looking at the evidence, Karen. I wasn't making stuff up.
I know, but
and George, as a chemist and working with multiple pharmaceutical companies and working in the laboratories and working in management. I mean, George knows. I mean, George has got a slew of knowledge in this area. And so all that to say is, look, I want healthy families. I want people to have information so they can make educated decisions and do what you want. They're your kids. It's your body. Do what you want, but don't BS me and don't BS everybody else, and don't pressure people into doing something. I still believe in this country of free thoughts, free mind, free voice, and then free decision to make your own decision. But you have to have information to do that.
How can it not be political if it's hurting our children and people want to just ignore it or sweep it under the rug or fight? How can it not be political? If it's hurting our children, shouldn't we all be concerned?
Well, and that's just to be careful, we can't fall on either side of causality. I mean, if we're going to be honest, we can't say the vaccines do not cause autism. We can't, and the CDC has been saying that for a long time.
Yes.
They took a hard line on causality, and that's the issue that I've had. At the same time, we can't take scientifically at this time a hard line that says vaccines absolutely unequivocally do cause autism.
Right.
The point is there's enough smoke there to suggest that there's a roaring fire that should be investigated. And what I've said is there's enough reasons to believe clinically that we should investigate this, and there may be something there. And we got to be clinically responsible, and we have not been.
The numbers are enough to say, yes, we have to look at it.
The VAERS numbers.
Okay, we have got to take a break right now. But when we come back, we have many other topics to talk about. So please stay with us, but go to sidebartv.com right now and get on social media. We'll be right back with more on Sidebar.
With reputations as respected high-level prosecutors in Bexar County, the attorneys of LaHood Norton Law Group bring invaluable practical knowledge from the other side of the aisle, using over 70 years of combined experience to strategically advocate clients' rights and pursue the best possible outcome.
I'm Nico LaHood with LaHood Norton Law Group. Have you been arrested or accused of a crime? The LaHood Norton Law Group has the knowledge to defend you regardless of how small or large your case. In Bexar County, anywhere in the state, or even nationwide, we have the knowledge to defend you in federal or state court, no matter how small or large your case. We are trial lawyers with proven success.
Using their 70 years of combined experience to strategically advocate for their clients' rights and pursue the best possible outcome. The LaHood Norton Law Group. For a free consultation, call today, 210-797-7700. 210-797-7700. LaHoodNorton.com.
This is Nico LaHood. If you or a loved one has been arrested or accused of a crime, we can help.
LaHoodNorton.com.
1200 WOAI. This is Sidebar. George and Nico every week come here and we have these discussions so that I can act dumb. Oh, wait, I'm not acting. Seriously.
Yeah, right.
I'm always wondering when things just seem so simple, why there is such a fight against it. And this CDC thing that I was just asking you about, George, I was like, wait, why? You just read to Nico what it actually says on the website. Now, what is it?
Well, for decades, the CDC has been treating the statement, vaccines do not cause autism, this categorical dismissal, as science-based evidence, a science-based evidence statement. And it's just surreal. I was telling you and Nico on break that it was real to see the statement, studies, quote, have not ruled out the possibility that infant vaccines cause autism.
That's on the website now.
Indeed.
Yeah,
and that the agency's prior sort of hardline categorical claim, did not meet evidence-based standards in accordance with the Data Quality Act. And I was just mentioning, and it's not because we're geniuses. It's been out there. It's been there for public consumption. It's just the public didn't consume it because of the public, rightly understood, takes a message from what should be the world's premier health organization as Bible. And there's been, I think it seems to me, a violation of those code of ethics.
To George's point, Karen, I know you want to talk about the Dems defying lawful orders. It's the topic, but speaking of defying, I mean, but the information's been out there. I mean, when you look at VAERS, and we brought up VAERS a lot during the COVID era, remember the Vaccine Adverse Events Reporting System, because of the Injury Compensation Fund that was established when there was no liability tied to pharmaceutical companies if there was a vaccine injury that don't cause vaccine injuries, by the way. which has paid out over $5 billion, but side note as well. When you look at the studies, and this is self-reporting system. I mean, and the studies by the Pilgrim Group through Harvard did a study in 2010, and it's like a 1%. On the high side, maybe 10%, but more hovering around a 1% self-reporting system. And the numbers are astronomical, and they're alarming. If you look up the Vaccine Adverse Events Reporting System, it's part of the CDC. It's not part of some gypsy, kooky group. And look at those numbers, and they're alarming. And if that's 1%, do the math. You don't have to be a George or a genius to do the math on that numbers. You look at those numbers and the injuries that are self-reported, that are verified, by the way, and that have paid out money to. Not all of those have been paid out money. And then you multiply that and work out the 1%. That's 1%. It's alarming. And then you look at the 1 in 34 from 1 in 10,000, and you look at, that's just autism spectrum disorder. Think about all the other issues that kids have
COVID
today.
vaccines, even.
Well, no, I'm just talking about just ailments. Kids are sick. They're obese. They're overweight.
Absolutely,
They have
yes.
juvenile diabetes. I mean, they have juvenile cancer. They're on EpiPens. They have allergies, peanut allergies. What the hell was that growing up? I mean, I ate a bunch of peanuts. I grew up on peanut butter. Every day for 12 years, I had a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. I mean, every day, literally. If not two. And so, but now if we have peanut allergies, we have all kinds of allergies and eczema, and so we have autoimmune issues. Kids are sick. Why? In a country like this with the best healthcare system, which we don't, we have good trauma care. We don't have good healthcare. You have to ask these questions, and they're good questions, and they've been legitimate questions. And just years ago, during the Biden administration, Bobby Kennedy was placed on some list. And was canceled. I mean, off of all social media over this issue and over the issue during the COVID. A lot of people got quote unquote canceled and deplatformed. And I was always worried about that. And you heard me back then, Karen.
Yeah.
That was terrifying to me in this country. And so I hope it stays this way regardless of who's in order. Because look, Trump and the Republicans are not going to be in power forever. I mean, look, just the way it's going to be. And so we need to have a system of engagement, rules of engagement, of discussion, of free thought, and just following science, true science. And looking into things and lead them wherever they go if we really care about the future.
So it's the beginning of the debate. This isn't the end.
Oh, God, no.
That's the point.
Now we're just allowed to talk.
Yeah, parents were told for decades that the science was settled, and it wasn't. We had skeptics like me who were told their questions were answered. They weren't. And so now we actually have an opportunity to move forward and address some of those glaring gaps.
And let the truth reign.
The time has come. Yep.
Go ahead.
The thing I guess I'm just constantly confused about, you always say, Nico, that Lady Justice has on her blindfold, and that's, to get the fairness by just hearing the truth and then coming to a conclusion. But when I think of a blindfold these days, I think about the American public and the blindfold that they have on that is stopping them from getting the truth, whether it be about vaccines, COVID, or the childhood vaccines, or this new, Democrats saying that the law should go against the law. It just doesn't seem to make sense these days that the lies are being pounded into people's heads as being the truth. And people are believing it. And so I guess this new topic that I am just now coming into and learning about is half a dozen Democrats in Congress with military and intelligence backgrounds urged the current service members to ignore the chain of command. Now, that goes against all reality and truth to what is the right thing to do, I guess. But how is it that it's okay to go against the truth, whether it's the shots or this situation right here?
Well, I mean, look, if you want to ignore the truth, you can. It's up to you. But you can't ignore all truth. I mean, so I looked into this because I saw the topic and I wasn't, I try not to follow the news too much because it'll piss me off. But what happened was you had these 6 Democrats that said, you have a duty not to obey unlawful orders.
That doesn't make sense. That's why I was like,
but
what?
that's true. I mean, if you're given an unlawful order, example, if you're ordered to execute prisoners, don't follow that. That's an unlawful order.
I get that.
Check. So I thought that was very crafty because I went back to look at that little clip of the collage of videos with the people saying that you have a duty to unlawful. Well, what's unlawful? Which order are you talking about? I mean, I'm assuming they're talking about the Venezuela boats. I don't know what unlawful order they're talking about. So they made this statement. They're encouraging, disobedience, so to speak, and resistance. They spoke the truth because you are to ignore unlawful orders. But what unlawful order are you asking them to ignore? And which one is it? And are you sure it's unlawful? So it was this vague, typical,
I know.
weird.
I don't get that.
You know, yeah. So I mean, if you want to talk about the Venezuelan boats, I mean, blowing up these boats, these drug boats, we can, because I have some issues with it. Believe it or not, you know me with my due process, and I have some issues with it. I have some issues with Trump calling the Democrats seditious behavior. I mean, if you look at definition, we don't have a true definition of seditious behavior, but we had the Espionage Act of 1917, and we had the old Sedition Act of 1798 that they let expire. And so we have to look at these things because definitions matter, right? You have a right to defend yourself, but this was unlawful defense. Okay, well, hold on. What is self-defense? Does it apply in this situation? So it's all about definitions. When you talk about juries and you get instructions from the jury charge and the judge gives you the law, and definitions matter. So definitions here matter as well. And we can't just think about Trump and what he's trying to do. And I like what he's trying to do, don't get me wrong. Fentanyl is horrific. It's killing 100,000 Americans, young people as well, that are not intending to overdose, and it's happening. Got it. That's an attack. I understand that. Declaring them a terrorist group is a big deal, and that's why he did it. There's some strategy behind this. But whether you're blowing up a boat in international waters versus in Venezuela territory, and I'm not saying that happened, I just read some allegations, and George, hopefully you can look that up or correct me. So we just have to look at this, whether this is seditious or not. I'm just trying to lay the discussion board here for you, George, and we can talk through this, because I don't believe this is seditious, but it was walking a line. They technically said something true, and which everybody should agree with. But then, what are you applying it to, and why are you even insinuating that whatever President Trump and the administration is doing is unlawful? And you better start defining what that is and what they're doing. So I'm not into vague accusations.
That's what it is. There's so many vague topics, whether it be the vaccine.
Those are my issues. Those are my issues.
So if you're telling military personnel to subjectively make that call, I mean, it's almost, and I know it's a stretch, but that's really scary if you think about it, because you just got out of a case that you won, praise the Lord, that actually placed that kind of call in the hands of citizens as it pertains to law enforcement.
Yep.
That's pretty scary, where you get to decide that law enforcement is breaking the law, and then you can take literally the law, interestingly enough, into your own hands to stop them. So much for law enforcement. In fact, so much for law. That's anarchy. That's a problem. Trump's right. It used to be treated very, very directly. He was in an interview and said, now today anything's possible. He's got a point. Everything's subjective now. How dare you do anything to stop me from doing anything I want to do, right? Because it's not objective anymore. So that just play it out. What does that look like? So they made it clear that they were talking about this administration. They weren't talking generally. It's this administration. And the context was in terms of the administration's enforcement of immigration law across the country, A, and B, and the other one was the enforcement of law enforcement inside blue states where crime is rampant, i.e. the National Guard. And there's been calls on occasion, or the potentiality of calls for the military to become involved in that effort because things have been so out of control. That's a separate discussion. But the idea that you can place that in the hands of individual service members to make that call, I'm telling you, that gets real close to inciting sedition. I don't know that it was seditious either. I don't know. Honestly, if
all we have are those videos, I mean, telling them to do. I mean, what's the definition of sedition? I mean, you know, the Espionage Act calls it hostile actions against government or abusive language. Or the abusive language scares the hell out of me, because then if you have President AOC, and we already know how that goes, well, that's abusive language if you're disagreeing with this. Or hey, parents at school board meetings, that's abusive language. You're a domestic terror. You know me, I can't stand when we don't have an objective standard and we allow people to subjectively put labels on folks. But here's the other: causing or attempting to cause insubordination, disloyalty, mutiny, or refusal of duty in the military. Now that's part of the Espionage Act. But we don't have a sedition definition. That's espionage. That's not sedition. I'm just trying to, from the little that I looked into, we don't have a Sedition Act anymore. We have the Espionage Act. We don't have a definition for sedition technically. And then Trump's made, and I'm sure he misspoke. Well, he absolutely misspoke, but I hope it was unintended. There's no penalty of death for sedition. It's for treason. And and then we have a definition of treason, of course, because we have the statutes that cover that. So again, we just have to be careful. Again, I'm thinking long term. I'm thinking about this republic and who's in charge next. And it's not just about our team. It's about the system. I'm for the system over any one team, because the system should survive no matter what team is involved. And so to me, it's about the rules of engagement.
So at what point would you suggest that they cross the line into that? Does it have to be overt?
Well, what do you mean?
Do they have to be specific in terms of the ways in which they're asking them to, disregard an order from the President of the United States?
I want to look at a law that we have that we can interpret or that we can follow explicitly. I don't want us to see right now. It sounds like you're trying to fit. I know you're not trying to, but
no,
it can come across like you're fitting a circle in a square. And so I want to. There should be clarity. And look, Congress needs to act. That's all I'm saying. I want the system to work right by having Congress act, by us having some guidance, so we can interpret law. I really, and I'm going to use this word, and I don't use it often. I hate the politicization of our justice system. You saw it in this trial here locally. You see it nationally. You saw it against Trump. You see it in different situations. I know Democrats can come up with situations where it happened against Democrats. Fair enough, check. Well, that's fine. I don't want it against anybody. I want Lady Justice to truly keep the blindfold on. I want Democrats and Republicans to agree on certain ground rules about what's acceptable and not acceptable. Because look, our laws are our moral compass. When you talk about don't push your morals on me, well, let's look at our laws. Our laws are moral. Don't murder people. Don't sexually assault people. Don't steal stuff. Don't do this. Don't do that. That's our moral standard, is our laws. And so I think we should have laws to guide us before we, start interpreting stuff ourselves.
So let's just take on what they said. We got 2 senators and we have 4 congressmen, and so 6 total. And they said, we know you are under enormous stress, speaking to military personnel, and pressure right now. Mm-hmm. This administration is pitting our uniformed military and intelligence community professionals against American citizens. Exactly how?
Yeah.
So
that's false.
No, they're wrong. That doesn't mean it's seditious. But they continue. They said, like us, you all swore an oath to protect and defend this Constitution. Right now, the threats to our Constitution aren't just coming from abroad, but from right here at home. And it goes on to talk about this administration. So now you've pitted this administration against its own Constitution, and you've been told that you have to follow through on the Constitution. And if you do obey the orders of this administration, you are therefore going against the Constitution of the United States. So there it is. There's that conflict. So don't give up the ship. So how close can you get?
That.
Yeah,
okay, okay, we got to take a break right now.
That's good.
Let's continue there. This is Sidebar. Get online right now, and we will be right back.
San Antonio's news, weather, traffic, plus breaking news 24/7. This is News Radio 1200 WOAI from the GiveMeTheVin.com Sell Us Your Cars studio.
I'm Eric Lycum at News Radio 1200 WOAI. They're going to need a special election in Georgia after Marjorie Taylor Greene leaves Congress. Details coming up first. Traffic and weather together.
The WOAI Traffic Center.
35 southbound. The stalled vehicle that's been affecting the off-ramp towards Highway 90 has been cleared. Over on I-10 westbound between I-35 and Colorado, we've got that roadway closed due to construction. I'm Alexis, News Radio 1200 WOAI.
Mostly sunny, 75 this afternoon. We got partly cloudy, 64 at the WOAI 24-hour weather center. Our top story. Former congressional ally of President Trump stepping down.
Republican Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene announcing she's resigning. Her last day in office will be January 5th. Her resignation comes after a public fallout with President Trump over the Epstein files, foreign policy, and health care. Recently, President Trump branded Greene, who's been a representative since 2021, quote, a traitor, and said he would endorse a challenger against her next year.
Fox's Chanley Painter reporting. U.S. Supreme Court temporarily blocks a lower court ruling that found that Texas' newly redrawn congressional redistricting maps discriminated on the basis of race. College football, Texas hosts Arkansas. Coverage begins at 1:30. News on demand at WOAI.com. Our next update. Top of the hour, breaking information as it happens. I'm Eric Lycum on San Antonio's news, weather, and traffic station, News Radio 1200 WOAI.
This report is sponsored by Allstate. Some people just know you could save money on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Those people are probably saving a carload of cash right now. So what are you waiting for? Check Allstate first for a quote today. You're in good hands with Allstate.
again, back to the simplicity and the truth of everything. You wonder why are the Democrats calling for this? It doesn't make sense. But why are they doing it? That's what I don't understand. Still, I don't understand.
Well, I mean, I think there's enough ambiguity to suggest that ultimately they're doing this for political theater, and one would. I think that's the nice, sort of safest interpretation.
But like a bait to have somebody go ahead and go against the orders?
Yeah. Well, that's the concern. That's what I'm worried about. I'm sure Nico's concerned about the same thing. That in that ambiguity, particularly in this, really what is a political hostile environment inside the United States right now, truly. I mean, where you have this tribal mindset, as Nico always says, anything's possible. And it almost seems like you're trying to incite sort of illegal action on the part of military service members against the administration and their commander-in-chief. Because they went on, Nico, to add that the laws are clear, that members of the military can and must refuse illegal orders, and that no one has to carry out orders that, quote, violate the law or our Constitution. What law are they talking about? The Uniform Military Code. Which specifically says, you can't carry out illegal orders. And there's some history for that. We'll tackle that at another time. So my point is they were clear on who the offender here is, the administration. And that they have offended against the United States Constitution and the laws. Yeah. Now, they weren't clear about what those were. In fact, in an interview, Martha McCallum asked one of them to name a single law, and they couldn't. Of course. And they're trafficking in that ambiguity, but with enough certainty that it could light a powder keg. And that's the worry here. And I know Nico's probably concerned about the other extent. This ambiguity, you got to be careful that you don't overcorrect one way or the other, presumably, right?
Well, yeah, absolutely. Because here's the deal. Because then what if there's a Democrat president and a Democrat-led Congress, and we as conservatives say resist the government. We have to stop this. We have to push back. And then, you're acting seditiously. Now so that's why definitions matter to me. I mean, I was incensed when I saw all of these parents at school board meetings being labeled domestic terrorists, and so nobody labeled them. I know there's going to be a comment from either Mark Antoine or our friend Alamo Talk saying like no one did this. I was like, well, look, there's internal letters, there's situations. Look, there's language that's thrown around by both sides. Nazi, this, that, whatever, racist. I mean, that's been thrown around forever. Resist, fight. So it's okay for one side to say fight. Trump can't say something else and said, look, we need to march peacefully. I mean, so this is my point. Everyone's making up their own rules, and then you have anarchy, true anarchy. And then it becomes king of the mountain. Well, then I'm going to win at all costs, because when I know that I'm at the top of the mountain, I get to make up the rules. This country was not designed to run that way. You can't run that way. There has to be robust debate. There has to be passionate debate. We have to meet in the arena of ideas and influence and persuade each other, not force each other. This country was set up on persuasion. And we can only do that if we have rules of engagement, which are our laws. And we have a system that works. That's why I'm so big on the system. And you saw this, Georgian, because I know you watched some of the trial, but you saw a system go out of control by an absolute idiotic DA and an ideologue, assistant DA that hasn't seen a police officer they don't want to prosecute. And they started twisting definitions. And to your point earlier, saying that, well, if a suspect who was actually a suspect in a felony that unfortunately she had committed, it says, well, I think you're overstepping your bounds. Forget motions to suppress. Forget going to our court of laws. I'm taking the law into my own hands, and I can commit a capital murder. And they literally made that argument. The judge had to shut them down after we just bitched about it insensibly. And so all that to say, this is my point. The rails and
these discussions highlight for me just how close or just how quickly you can go from a legal act to a lynch mob.
Yes,
I mean it's the line. It's just that quick. You emote people into this intensity. And we're the arbiters.
The conservatives, the arbiters of holding things. That's what conservative means. Holding. If a doctor says, Karen, I'm going to take a conservative approach to your treatment, that means I'm not going to cut you open tomorrow. We're going to try to hold you together and see if we can figure this out. That's what are we trying to hold together? The principles of this country. Mm-hmm. So that's what we're trying to hold to. That's all conservative means. To conserve your money, hold it in your account. Conserve this, conserve that. That's all it means. What are we trying to hold together? We better know what we're trying to hold together, or we're not going to have anything to hold together eventually.
And so, to be honest, Trump was one step too far. It's not that it was seditious, but I think it's reasonable to suggest that they're inciting or this could
That's
be
different.
inciting behavior towards sedition.
Yep.
And so it's one step removed. Because, I mean, Mark Kelly, the senator from Arizona, who's one of the senators, said that this administration is pitting the military against citizens. Exactly how?
Wait, what example?
I mean, right.
Is he talking about?
Is he talking about immigration?
Well, then
is he talking about the National
if
Guard?
someone's illegal, they're not citizens, so that's not the example. If you're talking about citizens that unfortunately, and there's examples of that have gotten swiped up in this big push to get the illegals out, that's going to happen, and it's not okay. And yes, we should correct it, and yes, it should be rectified, and yes, there should be some type of compensation. I'm okay with all that. But this is the problem when you have abuses of systems. It's like the example I gave last week, Karen, because you were probably drunk on a boat somewhere, and so if all this water is coming into a boat and you stop the water from coming in, and then you're just having to get the water out because the boat's still going to sink, you're going to take yours. I'm going to sweep out your stuff. I might sweep out one of your family members, unfortunately. You got to correct that, but you're having to overcorrect an abuse of a system before. So it's happening. I get it, but what these senators and people said, these Democrats, I mean, is too vague, and it cannot sustain a
But it seems to me that
cross-examination.
they don't care that it's vague, because when they do get back into office, they will just change everything, just like they did when they had all of those cases against Trump.
And they know better, because they're all of them, I think, are all former military, and so they know that the military already has robust systems to handle these kinds of issues about the legality of orders. And it uses that system on a daily basis. You are required to follow, I mean, every service member knows that you are required to follow lawful orders. And if you don't follow a lawful order, you can be court-martialed. And if you follow an unlawful order, that you can also be court-martialed. So, I mean, ever since the Nuremberg trials of 1948, this has been pretty much international law, and it's been inculcated in military handbooks. I had the opportunity to just kind of read through some of them. And it's been around for decades upon decades, and it's part of basic training. So why are they acting like the military wouldn't know this, and acting like there is some sort of major or a series of violations going on right now between the administration and lawful conduct in the military without citing any examples? Why? What is this about? So that's the worry here. For Trump to say what he said, I get it, but maybe take a step back and say, hey, man, you're inciting our military into sedition. That's serious business. Be careful what you're doing here.
When you throw, I don't want to play loosey-goosey with that. First of all, I don't like name calling. Just talk about evidence. It's like a prosecutor looking to prosecute somebody versus looking to prosecute a crime that leads you to somebody. See the difference? Mm-hmm. If you're looking at somebody to prosecute, which is what the Dems did to Trump, and what Alicia James or whatever that the AG in New York did, and Letitia James, sorry, and what they did in Fannie and Georgia and all this other crap, they were looking to prosecute Trump instead of saying, let's look for crimes.
Yeah.
Oh, it led us to President Trump? Too bad. Sorry, buddy. That's the way it goes, because I have evidence that can support this crime. That's not what's happening, and that's what I'm against. On whoever's doing it, I don't care. I really do believe in the blindfold. It doesn't matter to me. And so we've politicized the justice system so much that now we're playing fast and loose with definitions. And this is an example, unfortunately, where Trump is doing the same thing with sedition. Talk about incitement. I love what George said. He's right. This is insightful. Yes, it is. You're encouraging people to resist. That's not right. You're just saying something that everybody's, okay, check, got it. They should not listen to unlawful orders. But what unlawful order are you talking about? How are they turning the military against our own people? And I don't know if they've done any interviews, but if anybody hasn't busted their chops about this and pushed them hard, then it's just it's a BS interview. Interesting.
And the scenario is absurd. It's the idea that Trump is sitting there, he picks up the phone, he calls a service member and says, do this. That's not how it works. I mean, there's multiple levels. The president's calling the Secretary of Defense, who calls Joint Chiefs and calls commanders and senior officers. And at every level, at least in the research that I saw, at every level you have the opportunity to say, is this in fact constitutionally sound? Is this in fact a lawful order? I mean, it goes through that scrutiny at every level before it actually makes its way to individual service members. And they act like none of that is in existence right now. I mean,
because it hasn't
been. This is a hit on Trump.
Before.
Once again, it's a hit on Trump. And it's an effort to destabilize, to call into question the president's authority. Again, you can't do this with any other president except for Trump. Trump just seems to be fair game with these guys every single day. And it's just this.
But we need to think about when Trump is not here. Look, I say it again. I've said it. I like what Trump is doing. I don't like how he does it all the time, but I like what he's doing. I like what he's trying to do with these Venezuelan boats and fentanyl. We need to stop that. That's an attack. You can label it what you want to. And everyone think, oh, it's no big deal until your kid is accidentally overdoses. And I've dealt with families that have done that and dealt with that, and it's horrible. And they don't understand why, and all this other stuff. There's horrible effects to that. But we have to get there the right way. Remember, there's 3 aspects to justice. Is the government pointing the finger at the right person? Did they get this person the right way, meaning due process, fundamental fair play? And then 3, is the result, meaning the punishment, appropriate for the allegation? We don't send people to prison for life for stealing a car. So you have to make sure it's meter justice. So if we don't have all 3 of those aspects, we don't have justice. Well, that applies here too, federally. And I just want to make sure we do things right, because if there's another president involved and they start doing crap we don't like and they start doing stuff, we just got to be very careful. We have to make sure our system is set up right.
We have a couple of minutes left in this segment, but I did want to go back and ask, what do you think is wrong about blowing those drug ships out of the water?
Nothing. It depends on where they're at when they're blown up.
Okay,
If it's in Venezuelan territory, I have an issue with it. If it's in international waters, I do not have an issue with it, as long as they can justify and they have intel. Because we used to seize and take over ships. Now we're blowing them up. Okay, Trump's raising the stakes. Look, these are tough times. I'm all for a tough. I was tough when I was DA when it was appropriate, and so I get it. With Trump, I have no issue with that. It matters where, because we're setting a standard. And again, think of a president AOC. Think of a president Newsom. Think of a president fill in the blank. Mandami, how you like them apples? Think of any other president. So just be very, very careful the world you help create, because someday you may have to live in it. I'm just being consistent.
Where can we go? Oh, there's nowhere left in the world.
Well,
we're going to have to make it right now.
If the West falls, look, in the West, in many other areas, Europe is falling again. I know we're going to get into the Muslim Brotherhood distinction here in a second, but we have to be very careful moving forward. I'm telling you, this is fragile. This constitutional republic is an experiment, and it's being mishandled, and it has been mishandled. We got to be careful to preserve it.
Okay, we are going to take a break right now, but we'll be right back with more. And remember, get on sidebartv.com, find a social media platform, because we will continue.
With reputations as respected high-level prosecutors in Bexar County, the attorneys of LaHood Norton Law Group bring invaluable practical knowledge from the other side of the aisle, using over 70 years of combined experience to strategically advocate clients' rights and pursue the best possible outcome.
I'm Nico LaHood with LaHood Norton Law Group. Have you been arrested or accused of a crime? The LaHood Norton Law Group has the knowledge to defend you regardless of how small or large your case. In Bexar County, anywhere in the state, or even nationwide, we have the knowledge to defend you in federal or state court, no matter how small or large your case. We are trial lawyers with proven success.
Using their 70 years of combined experience to strategically advocate for their clients' rights and pursue the best possible outcome. The LaHood Norton Law Group. For a free consultation, call today, 210-797-7700. 210-797-7700. LaHoodNorton.com.
This is Nico LaHood. If you or a loved one has been arrested or accused of a crime, we can help.
LaHoodNorton.com.
1200 WOAI. This is Sidebar. Remember, this is the last segment on the radio. You've got to go to sidebartv.com if you have not done so already, and find a social media platform so you can join us for the after show. So the topic that we have not talked about, and the one I know the least about, is the one, and this is Governor Abbott, right, that issued the proclamation that designates 2 Muslim advocacy groups as foreign terrorist organizations. And I saw that. And then I also saw one of the responses to Abbott's proclamation. I think it's from the Council on American Islamic Relationships, CAIR. He said, although we are flattered by Greg Abbott's obsession with our civil rights organization, his publicity stunt masquerading as a proclamation has no basis in fact or law. By defaming a prominent American Muslim institution with debunked conspiracy theories and made-up quotes, Mr. Abbott has once again shown that his top priority is advancing anti-Muslim bigotry, not serving the people of Texas.
There's a reason why Egypt, the UAE, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, Syria, and Russia have banned the Muslim Brotherhood. So what are you going to say to them? Is everybody making this up? And I'm not in the business and in the habit of agreeing with Russia and Syria on things, but I'm just telling you, there's a reason why this own region where you're allegedly from is banning the Muslim Brotherhoods. Look, you can win that argument on people that don't understand the ideology and the movement of Islam. You can. You're not on an educate, and that's why it's important to talk about it. And this BS standard, and I'll say what I want to say on the after show, but I don't want Kurt.
Thank you.
I mean,
Same.
this BS standard where you disagree with something or you expose something for its truth, then all of a sudden you're labeled something. It's not going to fly with me. And it shouldn't fly with any American or any objective. And this is the problem. This should not be a Republican Democrat thing. So the Democrats flock to defend this movement because it's against conservatives. And my enemy's enemy is my friend, knowing that they were going to set themselves up to get destroyed down the road anyway, because this movement is not very accepting of diverse ideas, by the way. All you got to do, we know the experiment, go to these countries that are theocratic in nature and that have the Islamic Sharia law and the Hadith being infiltrated and being pushed out as governmental norms. And so this is legit. I just think that Abbott took too long to act because maybe they were acting under, this is a long overdue. Look at Dearborn, Michigan, where the mayor told a Christian saying, look, we should not name a street after a terrorist. I'm offended by that. We should talk. I will celebrate the day you leave here. You're not welcomed here. You get to say that? He's not welcome. Why? Because he's voicing a different opinion as they yell, as they proclaim and they do and have their morning prayers every morning on the city square. On the microphones. So all I'm saying is look at the history. I mean, look at what's happened in the UK. Look what's happening in Europe. Look what's happened in the past. And this is an issue. So I'm glad, whether they're a terrorist group or not, there is actually an Islamic tribunal in Dallas. And they push themselves as an alternative dispute resolution where you go to an imam and he acts as an arbitrator and they claim to operate within the bounds of the U.S. laws in Texas. But at the same time, they claim Sharia law is the supreme law for Muslims because all laws are subordinate to Allah and Sharia law. I mean, so you can't have you're talking out of both ends of your mouth. And so it's this facade. And you have to look up a concept called taqiyya, which is to falsify information to further the Islamic movement. Look, this is all there in their own books and ideology. You just got to study it. And so I'm glad that we're having these discussions. I've had them in the past when I was DA because they wanted to set up Sharia courts here. They almost set it up in Irving. This Islamic tribunal in Dallas has no place to be. There's no place for it. A dispute goes to the courts of law. Because they're saying at the same time, we're going to act within the courts of law, then why do we need you then if we're acting within the courts of law? But at the same time, Sharia law is the supreme law for all Muslims. Well, the Islamic people are inside the United States, so if Sharia is the supreme law over all Muslims, that means it takes precedence over the Constitution, and that can't happen. And that's the argument why somebody who follows the Islamic ideology and religion has a hard time pledging their allegiance to the Constitution. So there's a lot there. Look, good for Abbott for doing this. I wish and hope that more Democrats educated themselves on this and would just talk about it so we can go back to arguing politics. This is not something that anybody should be arguing about.
And I don't understand the reference to the fake quote stuff. I mean, these are well-established quotes. I mean, and he referenced the State Department and policy of the State Department as it pertains to certain Muslim Brotherhood branches, and calling them out as a transnational Islamist organization. He said, look, there's precedent for this. I'm simply, taking it to the next step and actually doing something about it. We've known about this for decades, and didn't do a damn thing about it. I like that, man. He really got into the weeds, which I love. I mean, he couldn't believe it. The Muslim Brotherhood goes back to Egypt in 1928, and Abbott calls out Hassan al-Banna, who was the founder of the Muslim Brotherhood, who stated the quote, and this is in the proclamation, I believe, jihad is an obligation from Allah on every Muslim and cannot be ignored or evaded. And again, just so we're being clear, this is not the jihad, again, getting back to the spirit of deception and taqiyya. This is a method to confuse the Westerner, to dilute their ambitions, to basically sort of dissolve Western civilization from the inside. And so they always kind of poo-poo things and throw out decoys and say, no, it's really not about that. There's no such thing as an internal struggle jihad. The idea that you're internally struggling,
Right.
Sort of as a Christian would say, that they're kind of wrestling with their faith, as they grow in maturity in Christ. That's kind of how they position jihad. It's an internal struggle with the forces of evil. There's not a single Quranic verse. I don't know of a single Islamic scholar, and I've studied this for decades. I do not know of a single Islamic scholar who would ever take that definition of jihad, that it's an internal struggle. I don't know of a single reference in the Quran or in the Sunnah, as Nico always points out, is a combination of the biography of Allah the biography of Muhammad and what Muhammad did, the hadiths, the traditions. I don't know of a single reference to jihad that's quote unquote peaceful or that references an internal struggle. It's violent. Anyway, this guy goes on, who's the founder of the Muslim Brotherhood. He defined jihad as, quote, the fighting of the unbelievers, and involves all possible efforts that are necessary to dismantle the power of the enemies of Islam, including beating them, plundering their wealth, destroying their places of worship, and smashing their idols, end of quote. This is Hassan al-Banna, the founder of the Muslim Brotherhood. And he goes on to talk about the State Department, again, how there's multiple branches of the Muslim Brotherhood that have been designated foreign terrorist organizations. You already mentioned some countries. I didn't know Russia was in that mix, by the way. Actually, it's the first time I've heard that. But wow.
There's a big Islamic community over there in Russia.
Yeah, I just didn't realize that they had gone so far as to designate. I learn something new every day. I mean, I knew about Austria, I knew about Bahrain, I certainly knew about Egypt, which is very telling since they emanate from Egypt. I knew about Jordan, I knew about the United Arab Emirates. But to Nico's point, we're sort of late to this party.
Yeah.
And good for Abbott. I mean, this took serious courage to do this. And everybody who's listening should read that proclamation, Nico. I mean, literally read it, because it's very detailed. So the idea that it's ambiguous or they're just throwing these people under the bus because of some political animus, this is CAIR. CAIR is a vile spokes organization for terror, for Islamic terror. And they're very, very good at obscuring. They're very, very good at telling half stories. 10 years ago, we had Islamic attacks in this country, almost one after another. And I'll never forget the San Bernardino one, where a husband and wife couple, both Muslims, wiped out 14 people with a gun and injured 27 others. And there was a foiled bombing, which I had forgotten about. And in the aftermath of that massacre, the head of CAIR, I think it was Hassan Ayush, came out and quoted Quran 5:32, which is half a verse. If a person slews one life, it's as if he would slew the world entire. If a person saves one life, it's as if he would save the world entire. It's actually an extraction from the Talmud. And in context, it's totally false. And if you read to the next verse, there's actually a proclamation of violence against non-Muslims. And there's a caveat in 532 that's never stated. These people are very, very good at obscuring what the Quran actually says. And Westerners just sort of imbibe this stuff in the name of religious liberty. When you
have a standard
liberty.
Said, Karen, where if you criticize something or at least push back and ask, then you're called an ob. And that's a one-way, rule of engagement that's not fair. I mean, no one's called I've said this over and over again, no one's ever called a Christian phobe or a Jesus phobe or whatever phobe. No one's ever a conservative phobe or whatever phobe. Yeah. It's always the other way around. It's like, it's like this piñata mentality that conservatives and anybody, or even liberals, this issue right now it should not be a partisan issue. This is a constitutional republic issue. This is a constitutional issue. There is no law other than the Constitution and the Bill of Rights that should rule in this land. Period. End of story. And look, and mandatory burqas and all that stuff. I am for women's rights, truly. And if a woman wants to voluntarily wear that, good for them. That's up to them. But mandates and this, and you have to do that and that, I'm just not for that. I have 2 daughters, and even if I didn't have daughters, I believe in freedom. I mean, you have a right to, if you want to wear loosey-goosey clothes, as long as it's not sexual and you're exposing your genitals, I mean, that's legal. It's illegal. That's something different. But if you want to dress, like a skeezer, that's up to you. If you want to dress conservative, it's up to you. You want to cover up your face except for your eyes, that's up to you. And if you want to walk around with pasties, I guess that's up to you too. But not mandating it, I'm just not for that. And if you look at this, and this is why a lot of people before, it's not me, I'm just repeating this, the LGBT community getting behind this Gazan, Islamic movement. If you really understand the way they're treated in Islamic countries, the LGBT community would not be behind that. Now, and so again, my enemy's enemy is my friend, because they're so mad at the conservative or the Christian, because we're just trying to persuade people to live a different life. We're not going to force you, and we're definitely not going to use violence. So it's about education. Educate people. I think I have an issue with foreign countries or any foreign organization owning land in the United States. I think you got to be careful about that. I don't like organizations set up where you're excluding this, and this is going to take precedence over the Constitution, and that Texas laws don't apply here, and this takes this, and this is the Supreme Court. If you want the Supreme law of the land to be Sharia, then go back to a country where Sharia is the supreme law of the land. That's not mean. And that applies to those Texas Republic dudes too that think that, oh man, I don't listen to the Constitution because I can do whatever I want. No, Jack, you're the same boat to me. You're not as dangerous, but you're in the same boat. Get out, you know? So, or go somewhere else and make your own little country on an island somewhere. So I believe in the Constitution. I believe in this experiment that our founding fathers believed in. And there's a foundation that we have to preserve it. We have to preserve it. And look, we are on the way to not preserving it. And here's the challenge. Where is it? Is it Nigeria where all the Christians are being murdered? Where Ambassador Nicki Minaj is defending them? So in Nigeria, name one Islamic organization that has repudiated that behavior. Because those are all Islamic people, groups, militant Islamic groups that are murdering Christians. Christians are being murdered by the thousands. Up to this date, 7,000 Christians, I believe. George will have the actual number. I mean, that's truly a genocide. Where's the coverage on that? You have Nicki Minaj standing up. Good for her. I don't know. I've never heard her. I mean, I don't support her music. I've heard lyrics one time that was pretty crazy. But hey, man, if you're right about something. And so good for her. But where is the outrage? Because if a Christian is acting like a jerk and not following the Gospels, I'm calling their ass out. Because that's not what Christ represents, and that's what Christianity represents. So I've not seen one Islamic group repudiate what's going on in that country. So look, we're going to talk about this and much more on the after show. Please join us. Again, George, happy belated birthday yesterday. We pray the Lord gives you many, many more birthdays, and we'll talk more on the after show. God bless you guys. Have a wonderful weekend. Bye-bye.
The preceding show was paid for by the LaHood Norton Law Group. The views and opinions expressed
One question that I had, and I didn't get to ask on the show, is all of these countries that were politically correct and quiet and silent and let all of these people come into their country and pretty much take over, how did they get their country back? Is it possible, or is there no going back?
Well, I mean, the example that's always brought up is the Crusades, right? Now, the Crusades gets a bad rap. I mean, look, there were some abuses on the Crusades, don't get me wrong, especially towards the end. But the Crusades, historically, objectively, was a defensive move. It was a defensive movement. You're talking about years and years of jihad, of Islamic control and attacking Christian strongholds and churches and relics and all this stuff and destroying and murdering. I mean, you're talking about violence. And finally, these European nations that were Christian in foundation said, we got to push back. Now, of course, there's always an overcorrection again, right? So there was atrocities done. Got it, check. And we acknowledge those, and we should not support that. But this was not it was not like a bunch of European countries woke up and was like, screw the Islamic people, let's go jack them up and fuck them up. No, it wasn't like that. It was a defensive movement. And George can correct me if I'm wrong or somebody else can, but I'm telling you that's an objective truth. And again, aside from, you have to compartmentalize some of these things. But that's what I don't want. But you're at a point here in some of these countries, in European countries, where what's the answer? I mean, they're multiplying. Look, and if you look at with the American way and this takeover of America, we're encouraged not to have kids. We're having 1.4 kids. How the hell do you do that? It's just all percentages. I mean, Islamic communities are having 4, and they're encouraged to have more. I mean, so we're going to be outpopulated. Like, what is it, 2070? I mean, someone shared a stat with me. What in 2070? Someone sent me a clip from a podcast that there was 150,000 Islamic people in this country in 2070. 150,000. Now there's over 5 million.
Whoa.
That's 30x.
Whoa.
Okay.
Did you look at those studies?
The official number it comes back is about 3.5 million Muslims in the country. Yeah. Now, granted, I don't know if that's been updated in the last 3 to 5 years.
Okay, well, I heard recent is 5 million.
Yeah, I mean, 5 million is believable.
Wait, what was
Especially
the
after
other number?
Biden.
What was the first number?
150,000
in what year?
In 1970. In 1970. So that's 30x if that's true.
Whoa.
Think about that. Just do the math. Now, if that continues to happen and we continue not to have kids because families are terrible and marriage is bad and having kids is a burden and all the bullshit which Charlie Kirk railed against, and that's why he was such a force for us. I mean, just think about the numbers, right, George? You're a math guy.
Yeah, no, true enough. I mean, the whole immigration situation in the country is just a complete disaster. But I mean, there's no question that Islamic groups have taken advantage of that. There's no question about that. I mean, in the context of Mandani conversation earlier, I mean, 40% of New York is foreign born.
God.
And a significant portion of them voted for him. So we just have to deal with these realities. And I know you talk about them, you're xenophobic and like you said, I'll come the phobic allegation. It's just so old. And I think Americans have kind of largely moved on beyond that. But the left hasn't. They'll keep beating that drum because it's all they got. Just calling people names. But I was going to say a little bit about the Crusades.
Please.
You said that, and that's an important point. This is something that CAIR also pushed back on, that this is basically another crusade, see? Because they're banking on the stupidity that's taught in the average American classroom about the Crusades. Because they would never say that if people actually had a factual understanding of the Crusades. And there were something like 9 or 10 crusades or expeditions, Western European Christians into the Eastern Mediterranean. And they were designed to recover. It was a defensive act to recover the Holy Land from Muslim hands. Because in the aftermath of Muhammad's death in 632, you saw an absolute explosion of Islamic influence. And it was militarily done. It wasn't persuasively, it was coercively. This is well established. And so you had 500 years, something like that, Nico, at least half a millennia of Muslim advance into the West that preceded the Crusades.
Yeah.
Let's just recognize
I wasn't
that.
sure if it was 400 or 500 years. That's why I didn't say
it.
Was 500 years.
True enough. And so Muhammad died he was born in 570. I think he died in 632. I mean, it started and you've said a few things about this, started in Mecca. I mean, he led an army of 30,000 to conquer Mecca. And you go fast forward 80 years. I mean, Muslims took Syria, they took Iraq, they took Egypt, they took Jerusalem.
Jordan.
By 732, they had invaded Spain. They were, I think, turned back at Tours of France by Charles Martel. In 1846, they conquered Rome. So it was a methodical, and it wasn't, I mean, you might say, well, 500 years took a while. Are you kidding me? We're talking huge swaths of the globe here. This isn't significant. And so you had, by the end of the 9th century, you had Muslim pirates that had pretty much become firmly established along the entire Mediterranean coast. And they had, by that time, were threatening commerce. And it was getting increasingly violent. They had pretty much controlled any kind of pilgrim traffic. They controlled of communications and so forth. Anyway, by the time the Crusades show up, I mean, these people controlled 2/3 of Christendom. And it became an obvious problem. And so you had significant, and it wasn't like, hey, they just took over and now they're in charge. I mean, you had significant persecution of Christians and Jews. Something had to be done. And so you had Christians who were appealing to the Pope for intervention because this has gone on for so long. It's like, we're getting wiped out. And so that's why I say it was a defensive response. Sure. This wasn't like we were sitting around bored and the Pope said, hey, let's go kill some people and who happened to not be like us. It's not how it worked out. So it was, this is the history. And so when CAIR brings it up, they assume that people don't know a damn thing about it. And unfortunately, a lot of people don't. And this makes it look like Abbott, again, is xenophobic and unreasonable and irrational. And he is just anti-Muslim and so forth. And nothing could be farther from the truth. There is both political and religious basis for this. But the reasons are constitutional, as he explained them. There is no, you were talking about due process. There is no due process in Sharia law.
No.
There is no equal justice under law. Islamic law is dualistic. There's Muslims and there's non-Muslims.
That's right.
Period. End of story.
Kafirs.
You are definitionally a second-class citizen. Period. End of story. And that's the way it always is. And everybody's, this golly, man. It's like the fact that we have to talk about it is just a sad commentary on our educational system.
So, Karen, under Sharia, if a woman is accusing someone of sexual assault, she cannot testify on her own rape trial. And she needs the witness of 2 men. Why not women? 2 men to bring a charge forward. I mean, this is all under Sharia. And so, well, we don't follow that. Okay, fine. Then say you don't follow it. But so it's not a.
I've seen the videos on social media, and I cannot watch them because it is.
Or the insubordination. I mean, in open society, they're slapping women.
Yes.
I mean, who's okay with that? So let's just forget about labeling. Are you okay with women being beaten for insubordination? Are you okay with homosexuals being treated a certain way physically? Not advocated against and not debated. I'm talking about harm on them. Are you okay with anyone that disagrees with this ideology to be treated a certain way? If no, well then you have to stand up and you have to start pushing back. And then look at the language and the verbiage in Europe now versus the United States. They're not that bold yet here because we have a Second Amendment, because we have a Constitution. They don't have a Constitution over there. I mean, just educate yourself and look at videos from Italy and from all around Europe and the UK. It's a very different world. In France, people can't wear Jewish stars. They can't wear anything. I mean, you can't debate, and there's no debate. And it's very violent. There's a lot of knife attacks. I'm not saying every Islamic person is in knife attacks. I'm just saying that there's going to be violence whether there's guns or not. And so, look, you better wake up. I mean, I'm not. People better wake up. We have to understand our history. We have to understand what undergirded this Constitutional Republic, what set of ideas. And we should preserve it if we want it to maintain. We're going to celebrate 250 years this coming year. And don't think that 250 years is a drop in the bucket. I mean, the reason why it's sustained that long is because of the ideas that are the foundation of this country. And we just have to embrace that, regardless of the political party you're in. And we have to understand that and preserve it, or else we're not going to have it anymore. And that's not hyperbolic language. I'm telling you, people better wake the hell up. What are you looking at comments?
I just have. I'm sorry. Go ahead, George. No, go ahead.
Very, we've been beating this drum for at least a decade in these discussions.
You and I have, yes.
Very concerned about CAIR, because under the guise of civil rights, they've been able to do an enormous amount of damage. The Council on American for Islamic Relations. This is a dangerous organization. It's a front group for Hamas. That's not libel. That's been established. If you guys, we can't do it all here, but please check out a trial. It's an important trial, the Holy Land Foundation trial, going back to 2009, 2010. Read the verdict and the decision by Judge Solis, S-O-L-I-S, and the clear links that were established between CAIR and the Holy Land Foundation, and ultimately their links to Hamas. This is, it's irrefutable. CAIR tried to come back after the trial and push back on the judge because they came out as a unindicted co-conspirator. That's how they're designated. The judge declined. The judge agreed that the lists of individuals that were disclosed in an improper manner in terms of their affiliations. But he says he can't change the designation because the evidence linking them to Hamas was overwhelming. And so they remained as an unindicted co-conspirator for a reason. Go back and look at what their founder, Nihad Awad, has said about jihad, has said about the growth of Islam inside Western culture, about what the ultimate goal is.
Yep.
And you tell me if you think that that's peaceful. This isn't about, community and coexistence. This is about conquest. Go back and do your research, please, and you'll see the links are clear between that organization under the guise. This is the stupidity.
But I want to see these groups, George, repudiate some of this horrible behavior. Because when a Christian bastardizes Christianity to use it for their own purpose and not for a biblical purpose or to be a Christ follower, good Christians should say, that's not Christianity.
So here's how they repudiate. This is what I mean, going back to Quran or Surah, the chapter 532. This is the verse they always quote, that in Islam, that Allah has a problem with the taking of human life. And they quote, if you slew one life, it's as if you would slew an entire people. And if you would save one life, it's as if you would slay an entire people. But that is not the context of that verse. There is a caveat they always leave out. If you would slew a person, it's as if you would slew a world entire or a people entire. And then there is an insertion, unless it's for murder or if you're spreading mischief in the land. Not following Sharia land is considered mischief.
Yeah.
Read 533. Not following Sharia law, taking a religious view that is different than Islam, is considered mischief in the land. Yep. And then you tell me what it says about the consequences for individuals like that. And no, it's not nice. It's rather violent, and it includes torture, and it includes incarceration. That's a gift in many
people
contexts.
need to educate themselves. I'm actually glad this is finally coming to a head, but it needs to be discussed. Where is the repudiation of this behavior that supposedly your religion doesn't support?
So there isn't. But those repudiations are fake repudiations.
Well, yeah, and they're general.
Correct.
But I'm talking work against it. I mean, if a Christian, if a group, an organization, or a person was using Christianity or the name of Jesus to do some stupid shit, I would not just have a statement. I would work against them. I would be actively working against them, to stop them. It wouldn't just be like, oh, here's a general statement. No, I'd be actively working against them. And that's why this Mamdani meeting with President Trump is important. Which, Trump did what Trump did. I mean, he gets people and he wins them over and he does what he does and he's very complimentary. And then Mamdani was very toned down. And look, we can work together to provide for affordable housing. This and that. I want to work together. I want to help him. He's going to be great. Trump is a master at that.
He puts a spell on those people.
He spelled them, man. He did. He Trumpanized them.
He
got them.
He does.
And they were just there.
He does.
And he got them all worked. But we have strong disagreements. What do you want to say? And Trump, look, whether you like him or not, because you still think he's a fascist, oh, just go ahead and call me a fascist. I've been called worse. Don't even, just say yes. Mamdani looked at him like, damn. I mean, but good, but I'm telling you, that dude is good. Mamdani, all these other dumb dicks wouldn't have gone. He went.
Yeah.
He went to meet with Trump, and Trump respects that.
They both did good.
But they both did well for their respective sides. They both did well. They followed the sidebar mindset. They came together to talk, and they agreed on some things, and they're going to disagree on some stuff. And so let's see where it goes. That's the only way we have unity in diversity. That's it. That's how you do it.
They both said it. You agree and disagree.
But see, man, here's where I would take a challenge at some point. But Mr. Mayor, do you agree that Sharia law should not be? Do you agree that this? Do you agree that that? Now, when you start challenging, then you're going to get.
Yes,
but right
yes,
now, they had to have some common ground. I know what Trump's doing, and he charmed him. So as good as Mamdani is, Trump is
Do you
maybe
think
a little
Trump
better.
stayed seated because he didn't want to tower over the little guy?
No, I went back and
Is
I
that a body language
I looked at his
thing?
statements. I mean,
The king always stays seated.
a true master
That's
at
a
this.
power move.
That is a power move.
Trump was asked. I mean, because these prior to his election, I mean, these barbs were pretty intense, and so that was brought up. And I love how Trump just sort of redirected. He goes, we agreed on a lot more than I thought.
Yeah.
Playing dumb. Talk about dumb like a fox. Remind me of who was the guy that did Columbo?
God, I hate that.
crap, I forgot.
Peter
That you say
Faulkner?
Columbo.
Is it Faulkner? No.
Yes, Peter Faulkner.
Is it Peter Faulkner?
is,
You're
it
right,
is.
man. You're right. Yeah, you're good at the old stuff.
I haven't seen shit since then. Ask me about Three's Company or Happy Days or Laverne and
Somebody
Shirley.
just told me about Columbo.
I loved Columbo, man, and a lot of my buddies when I was growing up, we were really young, and they're like, "Why you watch that?" Because by our standards at the time, it was old. And Trump's like, "We agreed on a lot more than I thought. We have one thing in common. We want this city of ours that we love to do very well." He said, "He goes, and he looked up at Mamdani and he says, he really ran an incredible race against some very, very tough people, very smart people.
Charming,
he said.
man, charming.
He says it was a productive meeting, and focused on a place of shared admiration. This is Mamdani then, who came right back and says, we were a productive meeting focused on a place of shared admiration and love, which is New York City, and the need to deliver affordability to New Yorkers. And Trump said, look, we agree on the fact that, let's have more housing. I'm okay with that. I mean, so I love it. It was all very superficial. No one's under any illusions of how stark the disagreements are. But I love that they were able to focus on the niceties and able to focus on points of agreement, real high level stuff. But that's Trump. It's very disarming. And then what do you say? Disarms you just enough, and then all of a sudden gives you the
Gattucci. But let me tell you this: if he's a fascist, he wouldn't have done that.
Right.
I know.
This is where the bullshit comes. I mean, he keeps on, and to see the meltdown of the left media going like, well, very surprising that Tapper with his stupid ass, just can't believe it. And it's like it's Biden. I told you about Biden. I mean, so everybody's freaked out because Trump went into that. He took the meeting. He didn't have to. After everything he had said about him, look, Trump has got thick skin. He's got sense. He's an interesting cat. I mean, he's easy to piss off and he's easy to get offended and he overreacts, but then he's really quick to reconcile. So look, if you're going to be easy to offend, you better be easy to reconcile with, or else you're very unreasonable. You're more unreasonable than I think you are,
and vulnerable to.
Well, he's never going to admit to he's vulnerable. But
right.
I mean, but what I'm saying is. All I'm saying is, if you're going to be ultra sensitive, you better be ultra quick to reconcile. And to Trump's credit, he is. So
and the reporters asked him, as you guys realize, you're sharing voters. That there were some voters who agreed with both you and Trump, particularly on the issue of ending forever wars, as Mamdani said. And Trump says, I have no problem sharing voters with them. I thought that's really funny. But then he went on and then asked him more probing questions because we're absolutely pushing for the total disarmament of Hamas, which would have been, if they had pressed on that would have been a really interesting conversation, because that is not a group that Mamdani has condemned and should. Never mind the fact that he's refused to back away from globalize the Intifada language, which only means one thing. There is no ambiguity about that. So they stayed away from that. But overall, man, I thought it was really, I don't know. I thought it was disarming and came across conciliatory. Let's see what happens. The devil's in the details.
Yeah. Well, and in the application of that relationship. Let's see.
What about Marjorie Taylor Greene?
That's weird to me. I think her political career is over. And I haven't been a Marjorie Taylor Greene fan. I mean, look, she made some allusions like, oh, I'll come back. You ain't coming back if you didn't finish your post. Why? I mean, if she would have said, look, I'm not going to run for re-election, that's different. But to just bow out in January, I'm like, man, then someone has to have a special election so they can, serve for 3 months or 5 months and then have to run again. I mean, it's just, I don't know, man. I'm just never finished. You walk out properly. I get it. I don't know why. Someone's have to educate me on how her and Trump got sideways.
Causing the chink in the armor? Could a Democrat get in there?
I mean, that's unlikely because the makeup of our district is overwhelmingly. Okay. I mean, Trump won by, almost 37 points. I think. So Trump overwhelmingly won. It wasn't a good idea for her to pick a fight.
What'd she fight over?
Well, I'm all for. Epstein. Trump called her a traitor, but she positioned it. And we can debate all day long whether you should have called her a traitor or not. But the point is that she framed it as if he did it because he had an issue, with what she was saying about Israel. So she brought it back to Israel. I was trying to think because there were a number of issues. But she framed it as if, she was standing up for needless wars, and which is an issue that Trump cares deeply about as well. But Trump made decisive calls in Israel pertaining to Israel's role in Gaza, and then, of course, his decision to go into Iran, which she just really parted company from. But she made it sound like it was those issues. And I believe, just based on the timing, that it was really because of a posture during the shutdown. I think that really rubbed Trump the wrong way.
What's her posture?
Well, she blamed it on the GOP, and she actually supported the Obamacare subsidies continuing.
Oh, wow. I didn't know
these are huge departures from positions that the GOP...
Why? What happened? Why did she change her position on that?
Well, I don't know that she changed her position. That was the position that she took. And so that really, I mean, this is
Which is against
on
the
those
big,
issues,
beautiful bill,
right?
right?
If the GOP was being stupid, or if they were doing something ridiculous, I mean, we would have said, "Hey, Marjorie, good for you." You know, I mean, you got to bring this up. Make sure you know, push for debate. Good for you. Go to the people. Got
Anybody asked her why she supported that crap?
I mean, this is what I mean when they said she sounded just like a Democrat.
Yeah.
You know, the whole idea of people are going to be
Everybody's too afraid to ask her a
What are the
question.
Democrats saying? You're not going to end up with your lunches. You know, people are going to be denied food.
Old people are going to die.
Hakeem Jeffries on the House floor saying that thousands and thousands of people are going to die. That type of stuff. Marjorie Taylor Greene weighs in and said, that, you know, she supports the subsidies continuing because a lot of people are going to get hurt and so forth. And while obscuring the fundamental argument of the GOP.
Does she believe that?
Good question, brother. A good question. That's why I thought,
She
what is she
believes it.
doing?
Look, if she
What was
believes
she doing?
it, she believes it. I just don't. It doesn't make sense for coming. I haven't studied. I haven't been a fan of hers when she yells in front of this.
Yeah.
She was kind of too extreme. It looks like she was an attention getter. She's really toned down lately and getting on The View. I just get the sense she's going to be the next Liz Cheney. I hope not, but I mean, I hope not. You know. But,
Yeah, interesting.
You
It's
know,
interesting,
I mean, she's going to be. But I don't know. I mean, look, I agreed with a lot of her stances on things. I just didn't agree with how she advocated them. You know, from the little that I know about her, again, I have not done a deep dive on Marjorie Taylor
interesting
Greene,
that
but I
you
don't
say
respect her leaving.
That you think her political career is over, and there's been a lot of reports about her wanting to run for Senate.
I know.
Against John Ossoff, and Trump had brought her polling that said you're going to be behind by double digits in every scenario. They did some scenario analysis, and this seems like a really bad idea. And the last time, you know, Trump sort of waded into these waters in Georgia, didn't work out very well. And so he's like, man, I'm not on board with this. And so that was a no-go. That strained the relationship. Other reports have said that she is thinking about running for governor.
That's what my mom just texted me. That's funny. My mom goes, she wants to run for governor in Georgia, and Trump refused to endorse her.
Mama LaHood and I were on the phone before the show. We're on the same page.
Wishing you happy birthday.
This is the time. Mama LaHood's pushing me into this. If I say something original, it's coming from Mama LaHood.
That's right. That's right.
Recognize that. The true source here. Got to give credit where credit is due. But no, it's true. And so
But
does
how
this
do you
make
do that
sense?
now? But
That's the question.
If I'm running against her, I'm like, this lady abandoned her post. She didn't even fulfill her obligation. How can we trust her not to abandon her post as being governor? I mean, even if she wants to do that, you got to finish, unless you announce and it's going to overlap and say, look, I'm stepping down to run for governor. That's different. Because, you know, like if you're a district court judge and you want to run for DA or any position, you have to step down as a district court judge to do it. That's different. You're not abandoning your post. You're going for a different position, and the timing makes you have to step down. But she's not saying that. She wants to go back home and get back with the people and see you later. No, bullshit, man. You finish your post. Walk out right. Don't run away from a fight, no matter who it's with, even if it's with President Trump. If you did something wrong, Marjorie Taylor Greene, then say, hey, you know what? This is why I did what I did. I was wrong, and I'm happy admitting I was wrong. If you're not wrong, then tell President Trump to go piss on himself, and you're standing your ground, and let the people decide. That's the way it goes, man. So that's my advice. But to just leave like this,
She's
I
so
don't know.
I don't like the
emotional,
positioning of herself as a victim. On the closing statement, she says that she did not, quote, want my sweet district to have to endure a hurtful and hateful primary against me by the president we all fought for. Only to fight, listen to this, only to fight and win my election while Republicans will likely lose the midterms. Thanks, Marjorie. Appreciate that.
She probably got the news that she was going to lose anyway, so might as well just get the heck out. I don't know, polls.
She says that this has taken a personal toll on her. Since she's been in Congress in 2020, she's made it's a huge sacrifice for her to do that. By the way, her net worth exploded by the tens of millions.
Oh, shit. Are you serious?
It's an issue. I refuse to be a battered wife, hoping it all goes away and gets better. I'm sorry, battered wife. How? I mean, it's an honest question. How is she a battered wife? I mean, this woman has had limelight status in the MAGA movement. Unless I'm thinking about the wrong person. I mean, she's been treated pretty well. I'm trying to figure out, and if you run for politics, you're going to get pushback. I know I'm preaching to the choir here.
Really?
You're going to get pushback to say the very, very, very least. What do you say if you want to find out who your true friends are?
Run for office. Yeah, you'll find out quick.
So anyway, I don't know. I look at her 5-year career and I'm thinking, I'm pretty envious. I mean, if you're talking about
if battered wife is the way you define it at the end, I don't know. Is there another one of you?
Who needs a job when you
Well,
can
then
get to be a millionaire so quickly
Well,
by
look,
running for office?
I don't know, man. I saw that statement, and you know, I actually like that you went on The View. You know me, I like that, and as long as you don't compromise your views and you go in there and you discuss with people and you can show, look like what Trump did with Mamdani, like her going on The View and her having Sonny Halston say, "Wow, I just thought that's how you move forward together." You need to have conversations.
I love that she went on The View, and I love when conservatives can do that.
Yep.
But I did not love the substance.
What did they talk about?
She just came across the same thing that I'm pointing out here in her statement. She like a woman victim. There's tons of men in Congress.
She's so emotional.
And it was just
weird.
I'm swimming upward, and it just, you know, I'm keeping up the good fight. And it just seems
But she never came across like that when she was in office.
No, sir, she didn't, and it just seemed contrived to me. And the reality is that there's some very, very good reasons for her fallout with Trump. Now, again, say what you want about Trump. Maybe you should have handled it differently, use different words. Fair debate. But the issues that we've been reading about, you can read about them. The issues seem to me salient issues. I can see why Trump didn't want to endorse. And I'm going to ask anybody here: Can you disagree with the notion that Donald Trump should not endorse a statewide MAGA person inside Georgia? How did that work out the first time? How did Herschel Walker work out in Georgia? How did that work out? Remember, what was the guy's name? Mehmet Oz, Dr. Oz in Pennsylvania. How did that work out?
Yeah, that's bad.
You got to understand your electorate. And so I think Trump's just being more strategic. I wouldn't be surprised if there's more people around him now who are savvy that are saying, Mr. President, please, this is not.
Can't just endorse anybody.
This is not a winning horse. So Trump pushed back. I mean, doesn't he have a right to do that? It's like, geez, man, I don't want to endorse a loser, and you're a winner here. Keep doing what you're doing. What's the problem?
Yeah, his use of
get it.
name calling is not my style, you know. But that's his, and so I'm like I said, you gotta take the good with the bad, and that's the way it is. But she came across as a strong advocate. I like strong females. I mean, I have 2 daughters, and they're strong females, and I want them to be strong females that understand a biblical structure and God's purpose in their life. And my wife is a strong female, and you know, but we understand order in our home as well. So I mean, I like that. I like when a woman, but also a humble, strong female.
She's not that.
I don't like someone just like, yeah, I'm a woman, hear me roar, and screw men and all this other shit. No, I mean, God has an order for me, you know, biblically. And but she came across as a strong. The little that I knew about her, you know, I thought she kind of, it was an overplay, which really kind of shows me that maybe she's not as confident as she thought she was.
Obviously.
But then I don't.
But
To George's point,
well.
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Walk it out properly, because then you'll have honor. It's if you come up short in a fight or in an election, exit well. Walk it out right. I always say that. Walk it out properly, because look at Rubio. I mean, that dude, forget about it. I mean, that guy didn't do well, and that came, you know, he's sweating, and all the shit that happened with him. But now look at him. That guy is a stud. I mean, and nobody's going to bat an eye if he was the presidential candidate, by the way, and it was the other way around. I mean, I get it's going to be JD, but I'm just saying. I mean, Rubio. So you walk it out right, because then you can always.
Ted Cruz almost ruined it for himself when he got all bent out of shape about his wife. That
it's okay to get bent out of shape if someone's attacking your wife. It's how you express that bent out of shapeness. Because you got to think about it. You know, look, there's some things worth tossing tables over. Jesus did it too. And so I'm not going to say not every situation's that. And running from a fight. This is running from a fight. This is not even how she's fighting. This is running from a fight. And then on the way out, she's contradicting this persona that she said she had of being a tough, strong, you know, I'm a victim. Well, then Pelosi's thrived in there. So Pelosi's tougher than you, Marjorie? I mean, you know, I don't know, I guess. I mean, I just don't like leaving the post, man. Unless you're sick or unless you're running from another post, you walk it out. Like, I'll give you an example my parents taught me young, and every parent should do this. You start you join an organization, you start a sport. I don't want to play it anymore. Okay, you don't have to play it next season, but you're finished. I don't want to go. Too bad, you're going. Well, I don't want to do this. I got it. A lot of things I don't want to do either. You're going to do it. My parents wouldn't let me quit things, or any of us. If you start something, you finish it. That's it. Whether it's an organization or whether it's a sport, you made a commitment. Finish your commitment and then walk away. You have 1 more year. Suck it up, man. I mean, you got played well for it seems like. So, I mean, I don't know. I didn't like it. What are you going to do?
So
I don't know, man. I was going to ask Nico because, you got to push back on the party sometimes.
Yeah, of course.
Right? You got and so good for her for doing that. The question is,
brother did that here in Texas.
how do you do that? There's a way to do things and give some dignity to the process. She had issues with Mike Johnson on certain things.
Okay.
I'm assuming she had. Yeah, exactly. So what? But there's a way to do that. I don't know that going on The View and sort of throwing the chief executive under the bus is a sensible thing to do. Okay, so you don't agree with what Trump is doing in Israel. Fair enough. There's other people who don't agree with that. But she goes on The View and sort of trash talks that policy. She didn't want him to get involved in the Iranian conflict with Israel. Fair enough. But I don't know that going on The View to say that, is a reasonable thing to do. She said, I don't believe in regime change. Now she's pivoting to Venezuela. Is Trump doing regime change? Or is he going after narco-terrorists? If in the process the people in Venezuela decide to throw Maduro out, hey, so be it. But is Trump engaging in regime change? Why would she say that about Donald Trump? Where is the evidence that he's engaging in regime change? She says, I don't believe that we should be engaging, same position she took on Iran. I don't believe that we should be engaging in war, period. Yeah, that's a Tucker Carlson deal. She goes, I'm totally against
all
wars, she said.
All wars.
I don't believe that we should be engaging in war, period. I'm totally against wars, she said.
What if someone's invading our country?
And there you go. And then she said, I have full faith and confidence in our military.
Alamo Talk made a comment, and MTG is smart. She's not trying to end up like Charlie with a bullet in her throat. That's an Israel reference, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Which look, with that opens up a can of worms. I've been debating with people and talking to people, and people have been texting information and on the investigation and this position and that position and Candace again. That's not going away. And look, we didn't talk about it today, but about the Epstein file.
I was just going to mention that next.
Well, a lot of people were. I was the same way. George and I disagreed. To me, it wasn't no big. Not that George says it's no big deal, but I think it was a big deal. I think it is a big deal. If there's a potential that there is mass pedophilia.
But there is mass pedophilia.
Say, I know. I didn't say it wasn't a big deal.
I said it wasn't the most relative. Got it. Sorry. That's why I was careful. I don't want to disrespect you on your birthday. I want to treat you, my elders.
But any other time,
respect my elders. Any other time, fuck off. But not on your birthday. Happy birthday, bitch. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Nico, can I ask you a question? Let me ask you a question. In regards to the Epstein files.
You got solid wound up.
Yeah, come on. Get him.
Epstein files, right? Uh-huh. I know that MTG and a lot of people are like, hey, Trump, you promised the Epstein files, right? And a lot of people are making comments, and they're frustrated with Trump on many reasons, but that's a big one. So, for example, if a lot of things are going to fall, like, for example, a lot of Republicans and Democrats are part of the Epstein files, and Trump's thinking, okay, you know what? I want to release them because I promised, but if I do, a lot of our structure, a lot of these people here are going to fall. What would you have done? Because I would understand, not that you got to wait and defend these pedophiles, because I don't think that's what they're trying to do. But I'm like, man, if I release them, maybe this guy, maybe that guy, and the whole system falls, and then America's not going to trust anybody.
People say that, Daddy, the whole system falls. How is the whole system going to fall?
Well, not the whole system, but I'm saying
But I've heard that before.
Key people within both parties.
You have to weigh it out. Trump, now, to be fair, Trump did not promise to release the Epstein files. He promised full transparency, which includes the Epstein files. You got to get there the right way.
Got it.
He didn't, to his credit, he didn't say, I promise you I'm going to release it. Other people were saying that. Other people were calling for it. Other people that he has in his administration were calling for it.
Pam
and all of a sudden, okay. So he did promise full transparency, and this is not full transparency. So I think, like I said it, we said it on the show, Trump handled it wrong from the beginning.
Yeah.
Because now he's he's okay releasing it. So then Marjorie Taylor Greene and Massey were correct.
Yeah.
They won.
Yeah.
And so now Trump is like, instead of saying like, you still talking about the Epstein file? I wish you wouldn't have. That press conference was the worst thing he did out of this whole thing. If he wouldn't have taken that stance when Pam Bondi was there, are we still talking about this? Because now we all heard him say this is what he thinks about it versus saying, look, guys, we're doing so many other things. That's important to a lot of people. I understand. And Pam, do you want to answer that now? There was a way to handle it differently. So I'm all for releasing it. Now the problem is, it wasn't a law. It was a I don't know what they're going to release. We'll see. Yeah. And so to answer your question full circle, you have to make an assessment. Is my credibility and the credibility of my successor more important than whoever's going to get in trouble? Because it's going to be used against them. Yeah. It's being used against now. Because out of all the great stuff Trump was doing during that era,
I agree.
Everybody kept talking about, not everybody, but a lot of people started talking about the Epstein file. People that were pinnacle and critical and crucial in him winning. To include Charlie Kirk, to include all these people. So
let me give you another angle. Do you think, because Trump is a strategist in a lot of things he does. Yeah. I think
not a perfect one, but
not a perfect one. Yeah. But I think if you would have released the Epstein files in the beginning, people, they're politicization or whatever, and he's trying to go against the Democrats or whatever. I think Trump waited and he says, let the Democrats ask for this strongly, because now the Democrats are asking for it, and now Trump says, okay, everybody wants it. Let me let it go, so it won't be him. Because
he just took a lot of. He lost a lot of political.
No,
assets
I'm thinking like because of the people that are going to go down. I'd rather him say, yeah, let them ask for it because they're going to go down themselves.
Well, now his only way out now is to say, like, I was trying to protect these people, believe it or not. But then say you're going to protect them over being a pedophile. I don't see a way he wins on this long term, other than the fact that he signed it now. But I mean, he's just trying to move on from it. What are your thoughts, George?
My thoughts are that, we have a distracted electorate, and that what matters today doesn't matter tomorrow. So while I'm inclined to agree politically that Trump lost political capital, it's sort of like the weather in San Antonio. If you don't like it, just wait 10 minutes. And that's kind of how the political weather is too. And I think Trump waited. So, but Salo, honestly, I don't think this is going to change a damn thing. People believe what they believe. It is not going to change one single solitary damn thing. This is it doesn't. People are entrenched. They have their preconceived notions about Epstein. They have their own list. Everybody's got their own individual list of how should be or might be in that list, and it doesn't matter. It's the stuff of. Look, I'm sorry. We live in conspiracy land. Truly.
Well, truth is often sounds conspiratorial, but it's not. There was a conspiracy that SAPD and the powers to be were protecting our clients from shooting a woman with a hammer when it wasn't justified, and there was a door between them and this. Well, those weren't the facts, by the way. And so that was a conspiracy, but it wasn't the truth. And so the truth prevailed. I'm just for presenting the truth. The truth sets you free, right? John 8:31. And so the truth is Epstein is an interesting character, whether he's connected to Mossad, his dad was, and this, and Maxwell, and all this. Look, all that should be looked into. I'm fine. Look, I am not for, here's an idea. I don't want a foreign country having undue influence on us. We all have influence on it. We have influence. We have influence on other countries. So, of course, we're going to have, other countries are going to have influence. Influence is meaning, hey, I have an ear. Like Karen has influence on me. Everyone in this room has influence on me. Doesn't mean I'm controlled by you.
Right. Right.
Well, but still, but having influence with someone doesn't. I mean, Daniel had influence with the king. I mean, having influence with someone just means you have access to them and that you have an opportunity to speak and to persuade them, and they can maybe listen to you. That's fine. Now, is it undue influence? That's a different discussion, right? So it matters. That's what I'm saying. So I'm a big truth guy. I want to make sure the truth prevails. I want to make sure that we can assess all the facts so we can make an educated, full informed totality of the circumstance assessment. So the idea that I don't know, Epstein is a weird dude. If there's definitely pedophilia involved because he took a plea on something, but then who is it involving and other people? I mean, what's going on with the king and this and all these people that went to the island, and why were there video cameras everywhere? And you have Pam Bondi being secretly recorded saying there's thousands of videotapes, and then there's over here saying there's nothing. Look, people that are smart and have questions are going to ask questions. You got to deal with that. I've been in positions where you have to deal with problems. You have to be disciplined. You have to be honest, have integrity, do what you say you're going to do, say what you're going to do what you're going to say, and then release it. And to your point, Salo, I don't know. I mean, if I had information where a bunch of people were going to be found guilty of pedophilia, if it's within the statute of limitations, tough shit. You shouldn't have been involved in pedophilia. What if it's a friend? Then maybe they shouldn't have been my friend. And even though I'm going to love them, I guess, I don't know if I would support someone. I don't know if I'd be friends with someone I know I wouldn't be. Because
now I'm hearing
that shit. That's evil.
Like I'm hearing on these different boards that now it's going to be like Charlie Kirk said, let's go max on the Clintons. I think he wouldn't have done it before. But now if they release all of this and now they can go after the Clintons, if he would have done that before, it would have been horrible for him.
See, I don't want to go after anybody. I want to go after crimes.
Yeah.
I mean, that's it. I'm sorry that I keep going back to that because this is how it's a slippery slope. And I want to go after crimes. There should be crimes, not people. I get it. There's an organization that commits a lot of crimes, and this person the head of that organization. Got it. Mafia, stuff like that. I get all that stuff. But we got to start investigating and pursuing actions. And then behavior is going to be done by a person, so it's going to lead us to somebody. But let's look at behavior. And so if there's behavior by anybody, to include Trump, to include anybody, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, again, that's the tribe mentality. I'm for truth. That's it. And then let the truth set us all free. What do you think, birthday boy? Huh?
So after they release the Epstein files, and they're a nothing burger, as George says, then what are the Dems going to use?
I don't think it's a nothing. I mean,
well,
just
after it's revealed,
instincts,
then what's going to be the next big thing?
If it's truly all revealed, I don't think it's going to be a nothing burger. I don't know if it's going to be the nuclear bomb that everyone thinks it is.
But if Bill Clinton's on the list, is that news? I mean,
what list? I don't know if there's a list.
The people that were there the most.
Yeah. I don't think they had a check-in, a sign-in sheet. It's not like a campaign event where they sign in.
Dershowitz was asked about that for a while.
Then that's
Dershowitz was his attorney and said that there's no list. There's no list. I mean, he said that files as part of the investigation of Epstein will disclose rot and corruption and a list that, I guess that's where it came, just in the way, but not official list.
Right, I get it, yeah.
A number of names, number of elite names, and so forth. They asked him about Epstein's affiliation with a potential affiliation, Salo, with Israel, and he says it's possible. It's possible he may have had that. They may have tapped him, whether it was anyone in the Israeli government or Mossad. He didn't know anything about it, but he said it's possible. Anything's possible. Yeah, it is possible. But I mean, I've always said, where exactly is any of the evidence for this stuff? And you'll find evidence on Instagram, but there's no actual evidence. There's no actual documentation to suggest that that's the case. And the fact that oh no, I mean, is there a Jew in the mix? Well, there you have it. If there's a Jew in the mix, it must be the entire Israeli government. This is that collectivism that leads people like me to suspect, an anti-Semitic seed there, because that's one of the traits. You sort of collectivize people and say, well, if it's one Jew, it's all the Jews. They're all like that, Well, and so I just worry about that. And it's snowballed. The Epstein and this sort of anti-Jewry in the country and this sort of anti-Semitic impulse that is just cultural and it's multi-decade long. It's just coalesced into this. I think it's a dangerous ball of poison. I don't think it helps our politics.
Karen, you forgot to remind us to wish the radio audience happy Thanksgiving.
I was going to say, what time should I come over?
Whenever you
Is
want.
it at your house or your house?
Our house. You come over. You're welcome to come over.
Anytime.
No.
Anytime.
There'll be a bird there for some people.
I was going to remind you, I promise.
Yeah, well, no, I mean for the radio show.
Absolutely.
Look, guys, we normally talk about Plymouth and all our founding and the first Thanksgiving. We've done that before on the show.
That's right.
People don't want to hear about that crap.
Beautiful thing.
Yeah. And the natives and the pilgrims, and which was really beautiful. I mean, you really study the first Thanksgiving. It wasn't what all this bullshit and left-leaning progressive narrative is. I mean, it wasn't that way at all. I mean, there was multi-days of celebration and food and feasting, and the food that you hear about, it was there, and the competition and the sports and the competitiveness. I mean, it was really beautiful and wonderful. Really? They were grateful for surviving the winter, and you had the Squanto and all. We've talked about all that.
Yeah, I mean, it's well really documented. Go
neat
figure.
Story, man.
Yeah, I think William Brewster had documented the first Thanksgiving very, very, very well, like in detail.
Yeah,
in a stepwise fashion, and it truly is beautiful.
Really neat
and constructive and glorious.
Well, people confuse Plymouth with what's the other?
La Semana Alegre.
No.
You talking about Jamestown?
Jamestown, thank you. Yeah,
yes,
completely different. I mean, that was debauchery over there, right? So that was horrible.
Talking about 1607.
Yep,
Jamestown.
Yep. So we've made that distinction before, but that's it. Enjoy your families. Look, there's a lot to be thankful for, regardless of your faith. I mean, people talk all the time. It's like we have to practice the attitude of gratitude, and I start my day off with gratitude and all this other stuff. Well, if you're grateful for something, it's just natural to think you're grateful to someone for that. And so the first Thanksgiving was a celebration to thank God, the Creator, for the blessings that they had. And so historically and traditionally, we've used Thanksgiving here in this country to thank God. And you can look at proclamations, Thanksgiving proclamations from Abe Lincoln and from past presidents, of this acknowledgement that there is the Creator that endowed us with these rights, these inalienable rights, inseparable rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We have a wonderful experiment here in the United States of America. And it's an experiment that is only as good and will be preserved only by the people that are actually handling it well. And so we have not always handled it well. And so I'm grateful for a lot of things. I'm grateful for health. I'm grateful the Lord has left me here on this earth. I'm grateful that I can talk. I'm grateful that I can hear. If you go down the list of gratitude of all the things, even if you're going through a storm in your life or a season or even whatever it is, and you really list out things you're grateful for friendships or for whatever it is. And for me, for my wife, for my children, for parents that have loved me and given me good, for my brother and for my other brother who's in heaven, and for opportunities and whatever skills and talents God, they make the list up. And of course there's challenges in life. Yeah, I got it, check. But it's worth it. And so be grateful to God. 1 Thessalonians 5:18 says to always be grateful in all things, right? Not for all things. And so we should be grateful. And I hope that you celebrate Thanksgiving. And if you talk about politics, talk about it, but be nice about it, be passionate, but don't let it ruin your day, and enjoy time with your family. Watch football if you want to watch, eat too much or whatever, sleep, but have fun and be safe. Please be careful, have safe, and enjoy your family, because we do have a lot to be thankful for. God bless you guys. Have a very blessed and happy Thanksgiving.